welcome to you to the floor.
Thank you.
And God bless you. Thank you so much, sir. I
Thank
appreciate you coming.
I really appreciate the opportunity. I hope everybody can see that okay, because we're gonna, we'll take a little video, or I'm sorry, a little multimedia look today.
Jimmy, want to cover?
So I stopped water. Thank you.
Okay, Tim Murnane's my name. I'm a ward committeeman at Ward 70 in Franklin County. They made me the Ohio Election Integrity Network leader of the voter roll task force. I wish we could get that to be a smaller name, but that's what they're calling me. I own my own business for 35 years, and the good Lord blessed me and allowed me to sell that business, and then I went and taught high school business for 6 years. Always wanted to do that. I have 4 children, and my 40th anniversary was last Sunday. So I'm real proud of that. In high school, I really liked basketball a lot. I was a very good outside shooter. Unfortunately, all the games were inside.
I just felt for that.
Well, we're going to talk about a lot of things, and what I'd like for you to consider after we finish talking today is joining our team that's cleaning the Ohio voter rolls. I'm going to tell you exactly how we're doing that. Here's a fella, William Cox, nice guy, I'll bet. The French called him Bill for the most part. Well, Bill was born in 1955, and he passed in 2015. And he's still on the voter rolls.
Oh.
So we got to get Bill off. Now here's a guy from Butler County, Barry Lamar Williams. Barry passed in 2010. I'm sure, again, he's another guy that I really liked a lot. The only problem with Barry is these are the voter roll, this is the voter roll information that we get from the county. He voted in 2020 and 2022. We got to get him off.
Wow.
All right? So how are we going to do that? Ohio for Truth, and you said you knew Gail Niederlanger. I would mess her name up.
Yes.
That's her website, and if you look at just the little screenshot of it there, every county's information, their voter roll information, is on those sites. So you could go to your county and get a peek at the data, because people that are really good at manipulating data have done comparisons. All right, what's it look like? This is what it looks like. If you were to click on one of those sites for your county, you're going to see a number of tests that were done that are people that, maybe they shouldn't be on the voter roll. One of the ones that we're going to look at today, that the data folks put together, are people that are registered at a UPS store. You're not allowed to be registered at a commercial address, but they are.
Wow.
Another example are people that are on the death records. And then towards the end of what we talk about is high registration counts as an address. All right, so all of those are areas that are ripe for us to investigate. So how are we going to do that? We've got 3 tests that we work with our volunteers. The first one is the NCOA. What that means is the National Change of Address. My daughter and her husband and my grandson were living in Chicago for a few years. And again, thank you, Lord, they moved to South Carolina. And when they did that, they filed with the U.S. Postal Service a permanent address change, so it's an NCOA. So we know that those folks have moved to another state. We talked about the death records, and we talked about the commercial address. So let's dig into each one of those. If you were to look at the data that's on that website that I show you at Hire for Truth, this is what it would look like. So the first column has the year that the folks passed, and you can see their names, their date of death, their date of birth. And I want you to note one thing too. Up here where it says where the data came from, it's from the Ohio Department of Health Vital Statistics Death Records. Why is that important? Well, because that's what they use at the Secretary of State's office to determine if people are coming off the rolls. So Jim and Becky are in Warren County. They compared the death records to the voter rolls. And this is how many that are still on the rolls in different counties. So I got to tell you a quick story. It's from Monday's meeting. Let's see, I don't want to really mention any names or anything. It was a county that's close to here that starts with an M and ends in an I. And a woman that put it together, who also, her first name starts with an M and ends in an I, got about 15 people together. We went through the training, and she also invited the folks from the Board of Election. And you know what? They came. So I don't know if the lady was paying that much attention when I was describing this part. Because when we get into this later, I'm going to talk about, we compare the death records to obituaries and find a grave. So I was talking to them about how to do the obituaries and where to search for those. And the lady from the Board of Election said, well, you can just not even do those obits because I'm not going to do anything with them. And I asked her, I said, well, you know where this spreadsheet, this data comes from, right? I don't think she listened to the first part. So I told her it's from the Department of Health, Vital Statistics Death Records. I said, isn't that your primary source of finding the people that have passed that aren't on the rolls anymore? She kind of got that deer in the headlight look and went like this. So one of the ladies who was a little more boisterous said, yeah, we don't have to look up these obits. You should take those back and look them up right now. We shouldn't have to do those for you. And she claimed she would. But we're always double checking. Anyway, that's what it looks like. So imagine for a moment, I've got all that data, I've got it printed out, and now I'm taking it over to the Board of Election. I'm saying, here's this data. What do you think their reaction is?
They won't take it.
It looks like a lot of work. And they're busy. They got a lot to do. They don't need some guy coming in off the street getting more work to do. So we've got to do something different with it. Same thing with the folks that are registered at a UPS. This is from Franklin County, and I know that 1747 Olentangy River Road is a Staples. You can have a P.O. box there if you want to. But the Board of Election folks don't know that. So what happens if I hand them that spreadsheet? Hey, here's some people. Looks like a lot of work. So we have to add something to it to make sure what we want to get done gets done. Lastly is the NCOA. In the first column are people's IDs, their voting IDs. In the second column are the states that they're in. So these first folks, they moved to Arkansas. These folks moved to Alabama. We've got their name, we've got their birth date, and if you scroll all the way over on this, you'll see their new address and their new state. So wait a minute, I don't have to do that line again. What happens when I take that sheet into the Board of Election?
A lot of work.
It's the same response. So, my wife is the one that came up with this analogy. She said, Tim, it's like you've got all that data. It's kind of like the ingredients of making a cake. But you just can't take the ingredients into somebody and have them be satisfied with it, right? You got to do something. You got to add your own ingredients and make that cake. So let me show you what we do. Our first cake is angel food cake. These are our folks that aren't with us anymore. So we take a copy of the obituary, we put those on a Word document, so that'd be like line 2, and then there's Barry on line 2. So when I take that into the Board of Election, well, here's the guy that we think's dead, and here's his obituary. How much work do they have to do then? Just
Nothing.
take them off. They don't have to research it, okay? That works really well with the angel food cake. Oh, man, that looks delicious. Ready for the Board of Election to enjoy. So our second one's our UPS upside down cake. Like I said, they don't know that that's a Staples. But if I go over to the internet and put in that address, there's a Staples ad right there. All I have to do is take a screenshot of that, accompany it with this spreadsheet, and they can see, oh, okay, that is a commercial address. Right away, those people are placed in provisional voting status, meaning they cannot vote until they get their address straightened out, and that address is flagged for future registration so that they know that they can't use that, and then they'll also check current addresses to make sure you're not there. So we're getting cooperation from the Board of Election when we give them in that format. Oh, that upside down cake is the best. And then you got the NCOA Nutella, all right?
Yeah.
All these folks in this particular list are from Florida. And what you're looking at on the left is a screenshot of their voter registration. We've got 34 different states that we can go to their Secretary of State site. And if we just have the name of the people and their birth date and sometimes their county that would be over there, I can show them that they're registered in another state. What happens? They get sent a cancellation notice. Man alive, that's the most tasty cake of all, that NCOA Nutella. So this is the information that we take into the boards of election. Now, I'm here pitching the idea of getting involved. What you need to do is to have a computer, because you're going to be doing internet searches. You need email to be able to send your results to the folks that are the leader. You don't really need to be able to manipulate Excel. You just need to be able to read what's on the Excel spreadsheet. There's a Word document, and again, you can have the Apple equivalent. But I was mentioning to some folks before we got together, the group in Franklin County has actually finished Franklin County for now. We're going to get additional data in the future. So we're starting to help Butler County and Cuyahoga County until they get their folks all together so that they can do the work themselves. So part one, any questions about any of the things that we talked about? Okay, we're really looking for a leader in, we've got a leader in Miami, we've got a leader in Warren, we're looking for a leader in Montgomery County right now. And that would be the person that would take what the volunteers have collected and then take that to Board of Election. And again, we'll coach them up on that. Okay, the second part. Okay, the first part's good news. There are things we can do. The second part is, what else is being done? In Franklin County, we have 874,000 registered voters. We just overtook Cuyahoga, real close. And it went up about 7,700 in the last 2 months, so this is fresh information. 2,600 of those are in confirmation status. Most of the groups I talk to don't know what confirmation status is, and I'm going to assume you don't. What that means is, according to the folks at the Secretary of State, it's a supplemental process which ordered local boards of elections to mail notices to electors who have moved or are inactive. So if you haven't voted for 2 years, you get sent a confirmation notice. What they want you to do is confirm that you're still at that address. And then the Board of Election uses that NCOA list for the confirmation also. Now, That sounds nice, but what that means is that people that don't return the confirmation notices stay on the rolls. They only come off if they're told by that person that mailing went to that they're still there or they're gone. So what that means is, I know this is hard to see, any of the red areas mean that it's over 30% of the people in the voter rolls are in confirmation status. That's not good. That's a lot of people that shouldn't be on the rolls. And I'll show you some examples. Anywhere in the yellow is at least 23%, if not more. As far as like the folks that are near us, there's Hamilton, they're at over 30. Butler, 31%. You can see some of these different locations. The reason we put this together, and the part that I think you feel good about, is all of those state legislators on the left listened to our presentation about confirmation and how we've got to get it fixed because it's not working right now. We've got too many people that shouldn't be on the rolls. Now, I'm sorry.
Well, no, I just, when I'm thinking about it, so you said that in those red spaces, 30% are in confirmation
Yeah.
status. And you were saying that if they haven't voted basically in 2 years,
They get that notice.
they get a notice. If they don't respond, it's assumed that they're still fine.
Yeah.
All right. But if they respond, oh yeah, I moved. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what you're saying. So are you getting ready to go in why that's wrong or why we need to fix it then? Is that,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I just, that didn't make sense. Or how do you know it's
Well,
30%?
and that's why we're talking to the legislators. This confirmation device that they use is broken.
Yeah.
So, we know some things happen in Georgia. We're all familiar with Georgia. And according to what True the Vote said, 19,000 votes were assigned to people who no longer live in Georgia. So the confirmation notices that should have been returned to let them know, oh yeah, I'm living over here now. I mean, you know, that's more than, that 19,000 is more than the spread that Biden supposedly got in Georgia. Okay, 48,000 votes that were counted in Fulton County were people that moved to a different county in Georgia. Shouldn't have counted. And lastly is the one that I really don't like. Of the 19,000, 16 were mail-ins. 9,000 of them were inactive, according to state data. So 9,000 people that were in confirmation or in inactive status got their vote counted. That shouldn't have happened. Precisely. So that's why we've got to get these folks off. I'll give you another example. When we made this presentation to the legislators, we had a college professor from Worcester College. So he looked at the voter rolls, real smart fella, and he's like, man, I know this student's not around anymore. I know this is not around anymore. And he looked at every one of the addresses at the College of Worcester for registrations. He did a full board investigation and found 91% of them are in confirmation status. Why would 91% of kids that used to go to Worcester be in confirmation status? Because they don't live there anymore. They went there for a short period of time, now they're elsewhere. That's part of the legislation that we're trying to get passed with those folks that will say, you need to stay registered at your home, not your temporary home. Because you know that, and Scott, you'd be the one who would be affected by that. There's kids that would be voting in a school election that have nothing to do with the schools here. They're just going to college here. So we'll see if that legislation gets somewhere. Your question.
So another question is, when I'm out canvassing and I run across errors in the record. I find, say, someone no longer lives in the address, or the house doesn't exist anymore, it's been leveled, or I'm at an Alzheimer's unit and the person's saying that person is incapable of voting, but yet they did. Is that data that could be harvested and used as a trigger to let people
Or no
kind of look
question
into
about
it?
that. They are harvested, and that's why we had to get them off. Because if they're not on the voter rolls, their vote can't be harvested. Like the fellow that we saw that died in 2010.
So like my daughter goes to Ohio State, her home of record is still our house.
Right.
Where was that? My son is getting ready to join the Navy, so he's going to ship out October 31. So he's 18, and then he's going to go to an A school. He's really still going to be on this temporary status, so he should really keep our home as the home of record.
That's right.
Even if what if he's, I mean, I was going to ask about that. When you're in the military, if you're living on base, or on board ship in this case, you're allowed to keep your.
Oh, heavens yes.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah. They, and I don't want to get into it because it's too ugly.
Yeah.
They mistreat a lot of the military votes because they know which way they lean. And they're not counted sometimes.
Yeah.
But let's not dwell on that
All
for
right.
now. But to go back to your point,
Yeah.
I was talking to the folks at the Franklin County Board of Election, and they said that when the kids come in, move-in day was a week or two ago, they got all kind of new registrations, and with all those registrations came an absentee ballot request. Okay, why would they do that? Because their driver's license didn't change. It still says, I live with mommy and daddy.
Yeah.
But they're claiming an address that is at the university. Well, you have to show your ID when you go into the voting booth. You don't have to for an absentee ballot. So they've already figured out how to game it.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to our numbers, 91%. He's a professor, so he's good at math, and he took all the students currently in post-secondary education, which are 637. So if we had 90% of every college in confirmation, that'd be over 500,000 votes over the state. And some of the things I've found make me believe that that might be pretty close. When I have 4 kids, as I mentioned, and 2 of them went to OU and 2 of them went to OSU. One of them, I moved into Smith Steve. It's a freshman sophomore tower. I sorted all the people using the data that I got from OhioForTruth.com. I sorted all the data for everybody that 80 11th Avenue. That's on campus, and it's Smith Tower. The column over here in the yellow are the ages of the people that are registered at Smith Tower. 56 years old,
Yeah.
45 years old. You think they still live there? I don't. My other daughter, moved her into Park Stradley. If I knew there was some 35 and 33 and 31-year-old living there, I'd have never moved her in. But they don't live there anymore. So the people at the Board of Election, they kind of know that. But what we're doing now is we're funding, sending signature verification to, we're going to start with the first 10 on both of those. What signature verification means is the postman takes in there and they won't give them that letter until they get a signature from the person it was sent to. Well, since Bernard Daniel doesn't live there, or Daniel Schaefer doesn't live there anymore, our hope is they're going to go in, they're going to talk to the person at the front desk, hey, I want to have this delivered, Daniel Schaefer needs to sign it, and they're going to say, well, he doesn't live here. We're hoping that that's going to be enough for the Board of Election. So that's one of our experiments that we're going to run. So confirmation's an issue, but I just want everyone to know that there's people fighting these battles to try to make it better than it is now. So, as Dave mentioned, I've got my little sign-up sheet back there. if you know of anybody that might be interested in looking at voter rolls, we do training sessions, and I should put that on my slide. We have a short little training video up at ohiofortruth.com, so you can hear what I go and tell people when we go out. It's kind of fun. You know those little bells you use when you go to a hotel, you try to get somebody's attention? Well, I bring about 10 of those, and I put them all around the room so that when somebody finds, screenshots, and puts that on a Word document, they ring the bell. By the end of the night, we've got, it's ringing more than noon at London, you know? But it makes it fun, right? Anything you can do to help our country, if you can make it fun at the same time, we've had a lot of luck with folks doing this work. It's not just my part. There's folks that get involved in the legislative part. There's folks that get involved in the communications, the media part. This is just my little bailiwick, the voter information. But if you get your name on that list, I'll send you some info, and you can see if maybe you'd like to do something in this county. Any questions?
I'm actually on that